everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of 31 Days of Indie Horror. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got an awesome guest. He's never been on any of the shows before, so welcome, Jordan Miller. How you doing, Jordan?
Hey, I'm doing great. Yeah, you're right. I've been on a few shows. Mostly I'm on my own show, but I've guested on a few other shows before.
Right, but not my shows.
Not your show. It's my first time here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because you haven't been a guest on any of my, because I have a lot of them.
You got a lot.
So yeah, so
this is my first entering the universe.
Yes, I'm popping your cherry right now. All right.
Ooh, is that what that was? I felt that. That felt good.
We'll talk more about your podcasts after the show. But before then, we're going to be talking about the 2014 film, Australian film, Throwback, which I guess I'm pretty sure you had not heard of before I mentioned it to you.
I'd never heard of it, but I was excited you picked it for, well, one, I like Australian movies. Like when you say Australian, I'm like, I'm in. I don't care. It's all you need to say. And then two, it's Bigfoot movies. Like I like Bigfoot movies, and I think I like them because they're like a huge gamble on whether they're going to be like horrendously bad or like a huge surprise. And plus, I guess I just grew up in the woods of West Virginia, so I like Bigfoot. I don't know. It's natural.
I mean, Bigfoot is like, I don't know, like in America, Bigfoot is Sasquatch or Bigfoot. In freaking Australia, apparently it's Yowie.
Yowie, yeah, right. Which I forgot about that. Yeah, and then of course, like some people go get the abominable snowman depending on where we're at. But yeah, the Yowie, they don't call it Bigfoot in the movie like at all. I don't think.
I think they did at one point. And I think it was just
American actor.
it was one of the Australians, but they were just kind of explaining what it was or something, and I think that was probably for us, for the audience of like, who are not familiar with Yowie.
For the dumb Americans, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I felt like this movie was made for, it had, so let me read what IMDb says for the plot. Two modern day treasure hunters go searching for the lost gold of a legendary 1800s outlaw in the remote jungles of far north Queensland, Australia. But instead of riches, they find a different kind of legend, a ferocious Australian monster known as Yowie. Australians answer to Bigfoot. So see, once again, even in the info, they have to kind of explain that, to us. And a savage battle for survival ensues. Thrown into the mix is a park ranger named Rhiannon and a burnt out. I originally, when I was reading this out loud, I said Power Ranger named Rhiannon. I was like, that would have been awesome.
That would have been an amazing plot twist.
Yeah.
And it would have worked because the name is just so weird. I've never heard of any person named Rhiannon.
I have, and I know
really?
It's really funny because I know an Australian girl named Rhiannon. So I'm wondering
if like an Australian thing.
Well, I knew a girl in was middle school named Rhiannon too, but
I had some Australian lineage.
Maybe I never asked her. Never even thought about.
I don't like to talk about it.
Now I'm thinking about it. If I ever see her again, I'll have to ask her. And a burnt out ex-homicide detective named McNabb. Travis Bain's second features a fast-paced, suspenseful adventure horror movie that pays tributes to the B movies of the yesteryear, ranging from Creature of the Black Lagoon to The Legend of Boggy Creek, which they used as their, in their little wine.
Yeah, that was a really direct nod. The Boggy Creek wine bottle, right?
Right.
Yeah, which was like just right in the front of the screen. Like if you miss it, that's on you.
No. I mean, but yeah, that definitely is on you because they hold on that for a while.
Yeah, it's a long shot.
Because when I saw it, I was like, wait, did that say Boggy Creek on it? And
10 seconds later, you're like, it said Boggy Creek. Is it going to cut anytime soon?
Yeah, exactly. To Legend of Boggy Creek, to John Carpenter's masterpiece, The Thing. Was there Thing references or anything? I didn't
catch that.
With a healthy dose of Treasure Sierra Madre, I would have said instead of Treasure Sierra Madre, which I guess I see that, but I would say Indiana Jones more or less.
Yeah, yeah, but they didn't do any high adventuring, right? They're just in a boat. They're like, we're looking for some gold. It's around here somewhere. Like, I don't know if they had any Indiana Jones level treasure hunting.
There
More
was
like Goonies, where you just sort of go into something and you have no idea what you're doing and you fall into some shit you didn't care, like come in expecting.
right.
I
And
feel
it's
like their expertise is more of the level of the Goonies children than Indiana Jones.
there's that one part in the beginning where I was like, is this joke gonna go on? But like there's one part where the person gets his gun pulled out on gets a gun pulled out on him, and then he hands over the gold, and then another person pulls
Oh
out a
yeah,
gun, and I was like, okay, is there gonna be another person is it gonna just keep going like that?
there is an enormous amount of gun pointing in this movie. A ridiculous amount, even, I would say, but like
probably
how much shooting actually happens, there's just an enormous amount of pointing.
Well, this always annoys me. I don't know if it annoys you at all, but it always annoys me when I see movies where the people shoot their bullets in the air, because most of the time people don't have enough bullets to just waste in just shooting in the air.
I'm so glad you said this, because this dude, so there's the two treasure hunters, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the one guy who's like becomes our hero, and there's the one guy who loses his mind. The guy who loses his mind like treats bullets like they're candy, like in this movie. Like, I don't know where his bullets are coming from, frankly. He misses almost every shot, if not every shot he takes in the movie with that gun. And then there's like a scene later on where he gets scared by a snake in a situation where he should be like really quiet, and he unloads 3 bullets into a snake. And I'm like, this dude doesn't give a shit. Like, he doesn't either. He has like infinite bullets, or he's just like the hairest trigger.
I know. Well, and that's what I think. And on top of that, it was so funny because he unloads like 3 bullets onto that snake, and yet the Sasquatch or Yowie or whatever just took the girl away, like didn't like come bother coming back for that guy or whatever. Like,
well, and like he was like 10 feet away, and he unloads into the snake, and then he bothers to check. He's like, let's see if the Yahweh heard me. Let me just check on that real quick. And he's like, I got away. What, man, I should have only done 2 bullets. I knew it.
Well, that also annoyed me because like the chick got, he got away with the girl, and the
Rhiannon. It's the only character I remember her name, because it's Rhiannon.
Yeah. Well, the what is it? She was tied up, right?
Right.
And everything basically used as bait, to lure the Yowie there. But like, you see the tree, and I'm guessing like the reason they left all the rope there or whatever is to show you that the guy that he had literally taken the rope off, the Yowie, and left it on there. Like, I'm like thinking, did he just like go around the back, untie her, and like
it was like such a bad tie job that he just lifts her out of the loop, and he's just like, well, let's go.
Well, you see like him walking away with her, like, and he's like, he's got her like on his like shoulders or whatever. He's like taking her away. I was just like, that's just so silly.
Well, the dude's like, I knew I should have brought more rope. I brought 5,000 bullets, no rope.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he apparently doesn't know how to tie people very well, but he knows how to shoot. But
he doesn't.
He knows how to shoot bullets. He doesn't know how to actually
know how to aim his gun. Yeah. He knows how to technically use the machine. Yeah.
Right. Because like, okay, there's one scene where the guy is the guy that he's trying to shoot at is like hiding behind a log, and he's shooting at him the whole time. And he's just like, pew! It's like one of those like old westerns, where you just see the person go, pew!
And that's another scene that goes really long. It's like he peeks, he shoots, he ducks, he peeks, he shoots.
Yeah,
it goes on like that for a while.
You would have thought that the Yowie would have gotten bored by all this and would have been like, "Hey, come over here."
Yeah, the Yahweh is watching from the distance. He's like, 10 or 12 more of these. I'm just gonna get out of here. I don't have all day.
Yeah, I'm just getting bored here.
I also like the arbitrary rule or whatever they threw in this movie that Yahweh does not cross rivers.
Well, that pissed me off too, because there's one part where he's like ducking his head down, right?
Yeah.
And the Yowie is takes the stick or whatever out of the thing. So obviously I think he pretty much sees him, but there's no like, and so he's waiting for him to come up. And I'm like, motherfucker, I said this out loud. I said, motherfucker, jump, like fly back into the water You know this thing's not going to come after you.
For some reason,
Or
this thing
swim.
just can't handle 3 feet of water. It just can't handle it.
He's like, I got to wait till he comes up, man. I
This
can't touch
thing
that
has-
water.
This thing has evolved specifically to live in this environment over millions of years, but just like it hasn't evolved far enough to cross a 3-foot deep creek.
I love her, like you know, when they're trying to make a realization that he can't cross the river for us, for our audience sake.
Yeah, right.
But like the guy looks over at the girl, and the park ranger's like, maybe he's kind of fear of, you know, no, maybe it was the guy who said he's kind of fear of crocodiles.
Oh,
I'm
was that
like,
it? Was that our explanation? I must have missed that.
You
Because
missed
I remember
that.
they had a thing where he's like, yep, confirmed. He won't cross water. And I'm like, why though? Like, why? And they're like,
No, he's got a fear, like some kind of weird fear of crocodiles. And I'm like thinking, okay, we're gonna see a crocodile. We saw a snake. We saw a big ass spider.
no
We never saw a crocodile. I'm guessing they're like, nope, we can't be filming with like live crocodiles in the
I
water.
guess. Yeah,
you
that's
know.
budget. I guess. I guess.
Well, that's also like you know, insurance issues.
True. You bring a crocodile on set, you open up yourself to some problems.
Yeah, crocodiles don't probably, unless you get like one of those pet crocodiles that are like trained crocodiles or whatever.
Right.
You know. But
So what did you think of the movie?
you know, honestly, it kept my attention the whole time. It wasn't terrible. Like it wasn't great. You know what I mean?
Certainly
Like
was not great.
it wasn't great. Like it wasn't something I'm like, oh my god, you gotta check this movie. Like there's the guy who made what was that fucking serial killer movie, Wolf Creek. You know,
Oh, yes.
and he also, I think if I'm correct, he also did that crocodile movie Rogue.
Yes, I believe you're right.
Fantastic director, can handle this stuff like perfectly. This guy seems like kind of a lower budgeted version of that guy. You know,
Yeah.
I think the original guy is Greg McLean, and this guy is Travis Bain.
That was my one thing. When you hear Australian movies, you kind of assume it might be really brutal because Australians know how to make a brutal horror movie. And not just him either. Like the Wolf Creek movies are brutal, but like across the board, a lot of times good Australian movies are pretty out there. And this one really didn't get there. I mean, it was clear it was budgetary. Like my biggest thing is like I was waiting for that big payoff of like, we're going to see the Yahweh. They're going to like do a big triumphant reveal of their creature, but and honestly, it never happened.
Well, yeah, you never see like his face or anything. It's always just the fur. And honestly, so
Yeah.
I made a
It looked
really
bad.
yeah, I made a terrible, cheesy B-movie promo thing for Sasquatch versus Yeti. And it's on YouTube, and it gets a lot of laughs because it's just cheesy and stupid and fun and just whatever. Right. I didn't make it because I thought it was high art.
Sure.
I made it because it's fucking Sasquatch and Yeti. And
Yeah.
and I didn't have a huge budget to like, you know, make like a real costume or whatever. So I bought the ones from like they were like $100 or something or whatever, maybe 500, but something at like on Amazon, you know, or whatever. So I mean, they were pretty cheap and cheesy, but they were, you know. And then I looked at the hands of. Did you ever look at the hands of the Yowie?
Yeah, I mean they look like rubber gloves.
Yes.
Yeah,
Those were what we had.
Oh, you just bought the same one.
Their outfit looked different, you know, because our outfit was very skinny and theirs was a little fatter, you know.
It's the Australian edition.
Yeah, it's been eating too much, I guess, out there. You know, it's been eating all these travelers that apparently keep disappearing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess for me, if there's a creature feature, which if it's a Bigfoot movie, it's a creature feature to me. It's a monster film. You got to have the reveal. Like, if you're going to never show your monster, it's got to like have a purpose. Like, or otherwise it's like, you knew you didn't have the money going into this movie to show the monster. Why did you make a monster movie?
Well, I've seen movies where they never show the monster, and
like Blair Witch Project. Never see a single thing, but effective as hell.
Effective because you're watching it through the lens of whatever, and that was the first time they'd ever done something like that. You know what I mean? And
of course, yeah. There's a lot of reasons that movie is special in that time period.
Right. And so later people tried to recreate that, and it just can't happen. Well, Paranormal Activity is probably one of the only ones that.
The only other one I would say.
Yeah.
And there's a decade between those two movies. Like there was a
Right.
decade of nobody understanding that what found footage really was. Like Blair Witch Project was so effective, nobody picked that ball up and ran with it for a decade.
Yeah, and everybody, because remember, there was a time period. I don't know if you remember this, but there was a time period where there were a ton of independent, like found footage films coming out that I remember, like, because I would go to I used to work at a video store, and they will pop up. There's one called like St. Francis Experiment or something like that. And so there's these like stupid, crappy, like knockoffs of Blair Witch, but they never really went anywhere much. You know, maybe Lionsgate would pick one up every now and then, but they weren't really that big. Then Paranormal Activity came out, and there was nothing but like you see like found footage all the time. So now there's
think about how the technology developed there, though. Like after Blair Witch Project, they shot on tapes and stuff like that. You know, like the footage the stuff was still kind of hard to do. But by the time Paranormal Activity came out, everybody had a GoPro, everybody had a camera on their phone. Like things were different. Like I think filmmakers in the indie world understood better after Paranormal Activity that like, oh, this is something I can achieve. Like, this is something that we can do on this budget. Like, maybe it didn't ring true until after Paranormal Activity. Like, wow, this is like 100% profit, and we can do this.
Right. And my least favorite thing about that is like how many people have made those, but how much it doesn't actually even make sense. Because, you know, here's the biggest problem is because most of those movies look edited, you know, they look like they were shot, then there was another shot, then there was another shot, right?
Right.
Meaning that
there's multiple cameramen or what?
Well, maybe that. And also the fact that the biggest problem with that is like if you take and this has nothing to do with Throwback was not a found footage film.
No.
But but the thing is, like, when you look at those movies that are edited like that, it's like that. But that means they didn't find the footage.
Exactly.
You know?
It's edited footage. Yeah.
It's edited footage. So it just annoys me. That's why I'm not a fan. I didn't like Paranormal Activity, and it wasn't because, you know, whatever. I like, it bored me. Like, too much waiting around before something jumps out at me. You know, it just bores me.
See, I can't get behind the whole franchise, but I loved Paranormal Activity kind of for that reason, because I thought the pacing was so brilliant. Like what it was able to do was so little. And like at that time in history too, I thought it was kind of special because basically when Paranormal Activity came out, everybody was becoming paranoid because the NSA was tapping our phones. We were all, and everybody was becoming like universally aware of it. And like we were being aware of finally how much like surveillance was really happening on a daily basis to us. And that's what that film is about. I feel like, you know, that's a big shift where like things stopped being in horror, where you would go out to an unsafe space and bad things would happen to you. That film kind of marks a time period where things start being your safe space. The place is supposed to be sacred to you is being infiltrated. And like after that, a lot of home invasion films become huge. And, you know, so everything starts coming into your safe space horror wise with films after that. And I think it's a lot of like what society was afraid of. You know, we started being afraid of our own privacy.
Have people made a home invasion movie that was a found footage film?
I don't know. You know, I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, that's cheap. Somebody could do that. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that would. I don't think it would blow up. Like, I don't think we'll have another Paranormal Activity.
I agree with you. I 100% agree.
But also, if you think about it, Blumhouse had a huge amount of money for marketing, you know, and everything. So they just took that movie and they just marketed the fuck out of it. They put it in theaters.
Great marketing.
Which doesn't happen in indie film these days anyway. And it became this big phenomenon. But like, you know, it's basically that's the house that built you know, that Blumhouse built.
Yeah, absolutely. And like there are occasionally some still really effective found footage. Like, have you seen Creep or Creep 2?
Once again, are those Blumhouse? I think, if I'm correct.
If they are, I'm forgetting, but maybe they are, maybe they are. I feel like they're whatever company, Mark Duplass's company, which like their whole philosophy is like make indie films on a shoestring budget with your friends, and some of them are gonna work, some of them aren't. But like Creep worked. Like Creep was like literally the writer and director is the guy holding the camera in the movie. Like he plays the cameraman, and then it's just Mark Duplass is the other guy, and that's like the whole movie. But it's a really effective found footage movie. It's like I feel like there's like Blair Witch, there's Paranormal Activity, there's Creep, and then I kind of like to lump Fourth Kind in there because Fourth Kind I felt like did something unique with the medium of found footage.
Well,
By like
wasn't there
one level deeper, being like, I know these are fake, but we're also showed the real footage, even though the real footage was also fake, you know?
right? All right. Well, I don't know. We'll get back to that another time. I'm sure on
Sorry.
another podcast. No,
I
it's
can
okay.
ramble about some nonsense.
And trust me, I can too. But we are here to talk about Throwback, which
yes.
So we had if you look at Tubi, which is what we watched it on.
Which Tubi is great, by the way. Awesome.
I love Tubi, especially for independent films and stuff, because we've had a lot of problems with like Prime used to do a lot of independent, and they still do. But sometimes they've been getting rid of a lot of independent film.
Right.
I don't blame them because they kind of open the doors for people to put on their like do YouTube videos and stuff. And so there's been a lot of crap that's been coming out onto YouTube, to Prime. So they've got to kind of weed out things. But Tubi has sort of become this place where, you know, if it's not on Prime, it might be on Tubi, you know, or if it's not on Tubi, it's on YouTube, you know, or whatever. You can find probably almost any movie these days, streaming wise. But yeah, so we watched this movie and it says Vernon Wells at the top, like he's like number one, and he's in it for maybe 10 minutes.
I knew that was gonna happen. I was like, I'm waiting for Vernon Wells to stroll on.
I love him though. Like I've actually met him, and he's such a nice guy. Like he's such a easygoing dude, you know. And
I'll be seeing him in a couple weeks. He's going to be at Creature Feature Weekend at the end of the month, so we'll be seeing him there.
Well, hey, tell him you watch this movie. I don't know what he'll say.
I will. Yeah, I caught you in your magnum opus, buddy.
He's gonna be like, is like not my finest.
Well, damn you.
Not my finest hour, but not my finest 10 minutes.
And it's also kind of like McNabb, his character, is also kind of clearly kind of pointless in the movie. Yeah. It's like they got an opportunity to get Vernon Wells in there, and like good on you for doing that. And it's like, well, we don't have the money to have Vernon Wells in the hour and a half of movie, but we can like write him into a character that's fun.
You would think that
tear his head off.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. I mean, if he, well, it kind of slowed the guy down. True. From coming after that guy, after him. So
we needed something else. We needed someone else or something else to happen.
Right, because otherwise, I mean, if they cut that scene out, it would have been an hour and 20-minute movie, which is fine because, or so, you know,
but honestly, that was one of the more memorable scenes in the film because of Vernon Wells, right?
Well, it's just so funny because he's like this detective that's looking for the serial killers, doesn't believe in Yowie. He goes and he's trying to get cell service or whatever, calls up his up to his boss and everything. Then he sees Yowie and he's so excited to take the picture. And then the thing does look a Karacha. And I was like, is that?
Oh yeah, the weird cell phone ring. I guess it was a gag. They were trying to go for laughs, but I was like, well, this is odd and random.
It was like Luca Karacha, and I'm like, wait, what?
It's like, aren't we in Australia?
Yeah, that doesn't sound.
Right now? What's going on?
That doesn't sound like a ringtone that they would actually have, but maybe that is.
Maybe
I don't know.
Do. Maybe Lukukarach is huge in Australia, and we don't know because we're Americans.
I don't know, dumb Americans. Don't understand the Lukukarach, which I think is a Mexican song or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
it's the cockroach.
It's the cockroach. Yeah. But anyway, that happens, and then so. I get kind of upset because there's like this scene that seemed like it was gonna have once again have another payback to it, where he's like backing away, and I'm like, oh crap, he's gonna walk right into the Sasquatch. He's not even looking behind him. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, Vernon? He's just like looking this way, looking that way, looking this way, looking that way, backing up, you know. And I'm like, who does that? Who does not like turn around all the time?
That way and that way are basically the same direction. Let's face it. Like you're only really checking. Is he ever? No.
Only half of your.
That's leaving like 80% of like where he could be coming from.
Exactly. So anyway, but I thought, oh man, he's gonna bump into him. Nope, he doesn't bump into him. No. And I guess I forgot how does he die?
He gets yanked off screen, and then like you see some like weird blood splatter, and then his severed head gets thrown.
That's right.
So he gets killed entirely off screen.
I know, you don't see any of it, and then you see maybe
you see some ketchup
his head,
bottle blood spray. That's all you get.
You don't even see you don't even know if that is his head or not because there's no real. I'm assuming the practicals weren't convincing enough to get a close up of that head. Yeah. So they weren't like, oh, we made a head that looked like Vernon Wells, I don't think so. Kinda. So we have to kind of fake it.
And it's always funny in like low budget indie movies, like when it's obvious, like, okay, we got this guy and we're excited to use him in the movie. He only gets one scene, but it's always funny because those movies kind of like, they're puttering along, they're doing their thing. That scene comes, the dude shows up, everything kind of like jumps a letter grade, and you're like, all right, cool. And then like he gets killed real fast, and then we sort of go back to where we were before for the rest of the movie.
It's like, this was fun, psych.
A cool kid shows up to the party for like 5 minutes, takes a shot or two, and he's like, peace out, bitches, and he like leaves, and you're like, man, this party's lame now.
Yeah, man, I'm missing that cool guy. I want him back.
Where'd Vernon Wells go? Yeah.
Well, his head went somewhere, and then the dude had to I was like, oh man, what is this guy gonna do? He's gonna chop off his hand. How's he gonna get out of the handcuff? And I guess he kept pulling until it came out. I like it.
Well, he got the rock, didn't he? He kind of like smashed his hand until he could sort of pull it out, but somehow his hand wasn't just a mangled bit of like beef jerky after that.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I don't know. It kind of went for like a Saw direction all of a sudden where he's like, there's only one way to get out of these handcuffs. But then like, I don't know. It didn't really have any payoff. That's kind of the whole thing of this movie, right? It's a whole bunch of weird setups that kind of don't have major payoffs.
I mean, honestly, I was just hoping that guy would die, like
with this gold. Eventually they're like, we need to stop looking for this gold because it's cursed. Like, why is it cursed? Who said it was cursed?
Well, on top of that,
there's a Yahweh, but like, it's not cursed. Just get it out of there.
Didn't he know where he put it too? Like, why doesn't he just give the guy his gold?
I have no idea. I have no idea why anyone's doing. I appreciated this movie because it was fun. It was Australia, and honestly, because Australia is an amazing location for a Bigfoot movie, or any sort of like, really anything in Australia is great because there's nothing for miles. Nobody's gonna hear you scream. It's kind of like space, right?
Right.
So it's great. I was in for that, but then like we didn't get the Bigfoot payoff. We didn't get like a lot of great kills. And at the end, I appreciated this greatly, but it said it's dedicated to Ray Harryhausen at the very end. I love Ray Harryhausen. But why is this movie dedicated to him? There's no stop. Like Ray, if you guys don't know, Ray Harryhausen is the stop motion animator who did like Sinbad Adventures and like Jason and the Argonauts,
dinosaur epics and stuff.
Yeah. There was zero stop motion animation in this movie. So I'm like, why is this movie dedicated? I get it. I love Ray Harryhausen. He's an amazing.
Is it dedicated to him somehow? Like he was going to dedicate one of his movies to him, and he was like, okay, this movie, I guess.
But if you're gonna do, I don't know, if you're gonna do something dedicated to Ray, include some stop motion or something.
Yeah, that's true. If you're gonna do that, I mean, because obviously it's dedicated in like a special thank to him, I guess. But
there was nothing stylistically like, oh, Ray would have appreciated this. It was like, this just seems like a random movie that happens to be dedicated to Ray Harryhausen.
I'm gonna dedicate my movie to Quentin Tarantino, and it has nothing to do with crime or you use
no blood in the movie at all, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna dedicate this romantic comedy to
with zero violence to Quentin Tarantino.
And then they're like, Tarantino's like, thanks.
Because it's just like why? You're like, well, because I like him. I'm like, okay, I get that. I understood that much, but
because I like him. That pretty much sums up this movie.
It's like Apple Jacks, man. It doesn't taste like apple. It's like, fuck it, man. I like them, dude. Leave me alone.
Why doesn't the Sasquatch cross the river? because he doesn't want to.
He's like, what am I don't want to get wet,
He doesn't wanna
I'm
get
covered
wet.
in fur. My hair is like a foot long. You get wet, it's a whole thing.
You know what the answer to that was? Yeah, for real. Like, I think it was because they didn't want to get the fucking costume wet.
Like, listen, man, we're returning this to Amazon in 4 days, so we cannot get that shit wet.
Can't get blood on it. We can't get,
Can't
like we can't get anything on it. We got to make sure it's clean. Because you notice it was clean. Like there was nothing,
that's the thing. I guess that also, I didn't actually consciously realize that until you said that, but that is why the Sasquatch stands out in every scene, because he doesn't look like he belongs in the woods. He looks like he's wearing a clean costume. Like this dude should have tatted up like leaves in his hair,
dirt,
filth, basically like his hair should be half dreading, because it's just like not clean, it's not washed, it's like oil. Man, okay, so one movie I highly recommend that is kind of everything we've talked about. It's a Bigfoot found footage movie. Have you seen Exists?
I've heard of it. I have not seen. That's from the Blair Witch guy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Ed Sanchez, who directed Blair Witch Project.
I know of it. I haven't seen it yet. I want to see it at some point for sure.
Highly recommend. So it's like his only other time where he went back and he did another found footage movie besides his segment in VHS 2. But yeah, it's a found footage Bigfoot movie because Ed is like low key, high key obsessed with Bigfoot. On his car is like one of those I believe Bigfoot stickers, but it's really good and it has some amazing payoff. Like when you finally see the Bigfoot itself, it's fantastic, and it actually has like some a lot of like emotion behind like the Bigfoot's motivation, which is like once you actually get that, you're like, wow, I didn't even need that, but thank you for this.
Right.
It's a really effective movie. I think he went hard on the practical effects. I think he was like the preliminary designs were done by like Weta Workshop, like Peter Jackson's company. And they ended up making it over here in the States instead of New Zealand. But like still, it kind of fires on all cylinders. They do some really, really impressive shots for a found footage movie, some pretty lofty stuff. And like they don't skimp on the practical effects, and you get a great Bigfoot payoff.
I remember that Bobcat Goldthwait did a found footage one.
What was that called?
I forgot because I own it. I own it, and it was. I think it was whatever city it was supposed to take place in or something. That was the. Now I'm gonna have to look it up because it's gonna drive me nuts if I don't.
I know, and I know the title of this movie, but I can't think of it.
I know once I tell you, you're like, yep, that's it. It is Jesus. He's directed a lot more than I thought he did. Willow Creek.
Oh yeah, Willow Creek. That was actually not bad.
It was okay.
Yeah. It was okay.
I was expecting a little bit better.
Have you seen Primal Rage?
I heard of Primal Rage. I have not seen it.
It's also okay as like a whole. As like acting's not great. Blah blah blah.
I think it's on Tubi or something. That's where I saw like.
But they're made by like I want to say a Pennsylvania-based effects company. So like the filmmakers are effects guys first, and that totally comes through in that Bigfoot movie. So like they're not afraid to show Bigfoot. Their kills are awesome. Everything's like really great practical effects, and I liked what they do with their Bigfoot because in Primal Rage, it's like Bigfoot's like a little smarter. And he kind of like uses tools, like he has a bow and arrow, and
what?
Yeah, dude, like Bigfoot's like slightly more evolved. He kind of wears like almost primitive masks and shit, so he's a little scarier. It's pretty cool.
Okay, I got. What is that?
It's called Primal Rage. And it's not like a fantastic overall movie, but it's definitely an above average Bigfoot movie, and the effects are like just worth it.
Well, that just, I mean, having an evolved Bigfoot just sounds fucking
totally, yeah.
He like sounds different.
He like hunts you, he kills you. He's like not to be fucked with.
The other one I really like is a Sasquatch movie that sounds like a Yeti movie, which is Abominable, but there's two Abominables. There's one that just got released like a couple years ago or so, maybe last year, and then one that got released back in like 2014 or
I don't think I've seen either one of these.
And the Abominable one I liked was Matt McCoy from fucking Police Academy and everything, as this guy who's got a cabin in the middle of the woods, and there's another cabin nearby. And he's been kind of rear windowing his neighbors.
Oh
He's
yeah.
been checking out what's going on. So it's rear window very much because he's got a
It's a Rear Window
wheelchair.
Bigfoot movie.
Yeah,
All right.
and
Combo I didn't
it
know I
is
needed.
it is on Tubi, and it was
Like, wait a minute. My neighbor's Bigfoot. Shit.
I was his neighbor. Bigfoot shows up, and it's not the Yeti or anything. So I was like, why call it abominable? I don't know, but it but it takes place in the winter. I think that's
Oh,
the thing. It's a Bigfoot in the snow. So
Yeah.
like it's whatever. Anyway, that's not this movie Throwback, which um which I honestly I kind of wish it had a better title, because I get it. Like they even
Yeah.
mentioned the title they mentioned Throwback. This is a throwback weekend or something like that.
He says like it's some sort of like evolutionary throwback.
Yes.
So it's like so that's what it's supposed to be. But yeah, no, I agree. Like even when I heard it, I'm like, oh, that's what you're going for. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
It's not a great title.
It's not the greatest title. I would have preferred Yowie.
Yeah, dude. Wow, there's not a Yowie movie, and it's like own that shit.
Call it Yowie, or Blood Yowie, or something.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
Bring some attention to like the urban, like the local urban legend title of this creature, right?
maybe maybe they called it that because it's not a horror sounding title, and they were sort of making like an adventure story that had the horror elements in it.
True.
So maybe they were trying
kind of like for I don't know if you were ever raised religious in any way, but Yahweh is like almost like what the Old Testament reference of God is, right?
right.
So that was my first thought. I was like, Yahweh, like God, like you worshiping this thing? Like that's cool if you are. Like
They didn't, but they should have.
my deal, but
That
like,
would have been cool.
that actually was
Yowie worshippers go in the woods,
dude. So okay, this is a slight tangent, but you'll see where I'm going with it. Have you seen the movie The Ritual on Netflix?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it. No.
Fantastic film. Like I've watched it like numerous times when it first came out because it was so damn good. One of the most original creature designs you're likely to see. But it's like if you took that approach where like you go out into the deep ass wilderness and you find like one, a creature that will kill the shit out of you, but two, like a sub cult, like a just forgotten small community of like pagan worshipers of this creature, right? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you, like find a community that's like based around it. I don't know.
That
That
would
could
be cool. Yeah.
Because you got to find, I feel like that's one thing this movie didn't bring to the table is anything new to the Bigfoot.
Yeah. You're
arena.
right. Like literally, what does Bigfoot do in the whole movie? Bigfoot attacks a couple people in the beginning. Then he comes after them, but keeps getting thwarted by the river or whatever.
By some water, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Like,
kryptonite is water.
Anything. Like
I was actually also thinking they should have just splashed him.
he
right?
clearly doesn't like to get wet.
Right? Like he will cross the river.
Poke in your hands, and this shit is over with.
I know. He's like, get away! And he started. Oh my god, that's a funny like little like. That'd be a funny parody of this movie. It's just like the guy's about to cross the river and he realizes shit, he doesn't like water. Let's super soak him. And they start like spraying.
Yeah, and just end it right there. And that's just a testament to how like terrible these characters are. Is because they realize fairly early on they're like, oh, he won't cross the river.
He won't cross the river, but however,
And
he's
yet-
on both sides of the river.
Yeah, he remains a problem for them somehow still for the rest of the movie. You're just like, all you have to do is not cross the river, right? And things should be just fine.
Well, no, because like, look, he's on one side, then later he's on the other side of the river. So my question is, how did he get over there? Is there like a bridge that we don't know of?
I found myself thinking that too. I was like, maybe he's hopping rocks. Maybe dude is like, I'm like, he's like, I'm like, which is a scene I would love to see in this movie. By the way,
now that I'm envisioning him just going. Whoop,
don't fall in. Yeah, exactly. It can't be graceful. That's all I know. It's like it's got to be awkward no matter how it's going down.
holding his like balance. Oh my god, that's the scenes I want to see. I want to see the. I want to buy this movie so that I can. If there's like outtakes of like like the director yelling at the guy in the costume, "Don't get in here, we're in the water."
I put down the deposit already.
Oh wait, you're too close. Get back.
Yeah, get back.
Get back.
He's like, why? Yahweh doesn't cross water. Why? I don't know, man. Just stay over there. All right.
We just don't want it wet
because the budget doesn't allow you to cross water. That's why.
The budget. We need to return the costume. I like your idea for that.
Yeah, that they're just waiting to return it. They're going to return it as soon as they wrap. Like the next day, that shit goes back.
They're going back to Walmart.
And they have to come up with an explanation as to why the Yahweh suit that they bought doesn't fit their needs. I guess it could be size. You could just say this doesn't fit. I need to size up.
Man. My
is this a youth large? No.
My the guy that had to fit into the Yowie costume couldn't fit in it. Sorry.
He's allergic to, what is this, horsehair? Yeah, he can't do that. He's allergic to that.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll just return it.
Yeah.
Do you guys want store credit? No, we like a refund.
Yeah, there was like some giant lizard costume I was looking at back there. So
yeah. Oh yeah, that's what we're gonna do next.
We're doing another movie next week.
And then
Vernon Wells is in it.
Turn that one. Oh my god, Vernon Wells in a giant lizard movie. I'm down.
I wonder how many like low budget Australian indie films Vernon Wells does, because I feel like there's probably a lot of Australian indie horror films that probably just like we just miss entirely.
Well, I'm wondering that too, because I see him in a lot more American movies.
I think that too. I'm like, wow, people have the budget to fly him from Australia.
I don't think so. Maybe he lives in LA would be my guess. And
I thought he lived in LA too, because I was like, if he's gonna be a Creature feature this weekend, is Creature feature flying a dude from Australia? I don't know, maybe, but like
probably not.
Probably not.
My other guess is maybe like he's visiting Australia, visiting his home, and he's just like, they're like, "Hey, Vernon Wells is in town. You want to be in our
family reunion this weekend? You want to make some money?
You want to be in our little Yowie movie? Yowie, count me in."
Yeah, exactly.
Do I get to play the creature?
That would have been awesome. But they clearly had him for like one day. They just got him for one day, and that's all they needed.
Maybe he is the creature at times. Maybe they're just like, "Hey, we need, you owe us some money and some time, and we killed you off too quickly. Let's throw you in the creature outfit."
They're like, "Hey, Vernon, we paid for 4 hours, all right, and we're gonna get our 4 hours. Get in the costume.
Get in that costume.
I don't give a shit. Get in there. You want to be a star, don't you?" He's like, I was a star of the '80s. It's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I was in the Road Warrior, baby.
I don't give a fuck about this.
I was in Weird Science. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I love Vernon. I love him. I love him to death. We're just joking.
Oh yeah,
Vernon, don't come after us. I love that scene in Weird Science where he's in it. He shows up as his character from fucking Road Warrior.
Exactly.
It's just like, I think I forgot. I think I heard like that John Hughes was a huge fan of Road Warrior and was like, "Can we just get that guy?" Like, "Oh, you don't want somebody who like looks like him? No, let's just get that guy to come in."
They're like, "You mean Vernon Wells?" And he's like, "No, I mean that guy from the movie, the guy Vernon Wells played. Get him." Like,
get him. Oh, we can't get him. We'd have to. Oh, okay.
Well, he's
get
played
Vernon
by
Wells.
a real human. I don't care. You get him. All right. You get him.
You get him. Oh Lord, this has been a fun episode, honestly.
Yeah, this has been a ton of fun.
I know.
Talking Australian Bigfoot, man. What can you?
So all in all, would you recommend this movie? Like, if somebody were like, "I'm watching something on Tubi, should I watch Throwback?" Would you say sure?
Yeah, it depends if I like them, I guess. But like. But I mean, honestly, probably not. Like, I don't think I would tell somebody go out of your way to watch this movie. I would say, like, I would recommend this if this is like a group setting and you're like having a couple beers and you want something that's like fun, that like you can talk with your friends, you can still have this on, you can enjoy it. Yeah, I'd say Throwback is a good time. if you're sitting like back by yourself, maybe, or like with your significant other, and you want to watch a movie that's going to get you into the night or like engage you, I don't know if I'm going to say go watch Throwback.
I mean, the only problem with these movies, a lot of these movies, especially ones that are on Tubi, that are like these indie horror movies, a lot of them are sort of like, I couldn't see Riff Tracks doing anything with this, you know?
That's actually a good litmus test, isn't it? Right? Like
Yeah.
if you handed this to comedians and you said make fun of this movie and they handed it back to you and they're like, there's nothing I can do with this.
Yeah, I got nothing. Because like
you're like, I think it's been said already. Here you go.
Because then at that point you're just like, you just feel mean, you know? Like,
don't kick them when they're down, man.
Jeez, like, I mean, they went out and they made a fucking movie, man. Congratulations, dude.
And that's what I like about it. Like, honestly, like any of these indie low budget movies, like that's what gets me and that's what keeps me there, is because like there's a passion behind any of them, right?
It's an hour and 34 minutes, dude. I mean,
you don't make that shit on accident. You make that shit out of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears. Right. So like, yes, any day of the week, I'll gladly put on something like this and like support an indie film and see something I've just never seen before. Because I think Stephen King like honestly said it best when he said like the worst horror movie I ever saw was still fucking great.
Yeah,
right? Because you still don't really know what's gonna come. You're still like having fun with the genre that you love, right? And like even if it's like maybe not the best hour and a half you ever spent, at the worst, you just put a couple bucks in an indie filmmaker's pocket.
Exactly. And that's the other thing with Tubi, the distributor, whoever it is, gets money.
Yes.
Once the distributor gets money, hopefully they'll eventually pay the filmmakers, you know, or whatever.
They do. Like I have a film that probably is still on Tubi. It's been on Tubi for a long time, and I can tell you that shit does make it back to the filmmakers. Like if you watch their movies, it's not just going to some Netflixy faceless people. Like the people who made those movies are making their money back.
What movie is it? So we don't accidentally go and make fun of it.
It's not a horror film, actually. It's called The Red Effect, and it's a racial drama. It takes place in Southeast DC.
Nice.
It was my first film I ever did. It was back in 2015 is when we finished it. I think it did festivals and came out in 2017, and it was on Tubi and probably still is. But I mean, that's how I can say for sure that Tubi is wonderful, because Tubi actually accepts indie films, finds indie filmmakers, talks to them, makes these things happen, and actually pays them. Like, so what's wrong with that? Nothing.
I was actually afraid for a little bit because they did go into another company, you know, like a big company. I forgot what it was like. I don't know if it's Fox, some company like that actually bought them. And I was at one point I was afraid because I was like, uh-oh, does that mean all the indie films that are on there are just going to go and they're going to make everything all mainstream? Of course not, because like, unfortunately, like we just had OnlyFans. This is, by the way, this is what was in August that we're doing this. And so this is coming out in October. So this is going to be a little dated, but and actually, after this comes out, there's, you know, the OnlyFans is going to have their turn or whatever turn.
Yeah, no more pornographic material.
Right, which is what sort of kind of made them famous, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, I was thinking about that with Tubi, is like, had Tubi sort of like, because so many people love going on Tubi, seeing something free. If they started charging, what's going to happen, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, this is something you see with a lot. I mean, yeah, and the reason you think that is because this happens all the time, right? Like things come into play that are like, that give creators control, right? You have something that gives content creators control of their own media, something like Tubi, and then you're just sort of waiting, like, okay, when is this good thing gonna go away? Like, when is somebody gonna ruin this? Exactly. And like that's what's happening with OnlyFans. Like, you know, like, sex work is work. That's real work. Like, and people are doing this, and like they're creating income, and now OnlyFans is shifting. And I have to believe it's because large scale celebrities are moving to the platform, right? And
no, it's actually the banks. The banks are giving the investments, and the bank, and this has been coming for a while. I remember seeing articles about this, but banks are really furious because there's too much pornography on it, and they do not want to be associated with that because it gives the banks the bad names, they think, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
But
So
don't you think those two things are kind of intertwined? Because at one point, OnlyFans was being held up exclusively by that sort of content, right? So at that point, the banks might not be happy, but they're making their nut at the end of the day. Like their money's being made. Then large scale celebrities move to the platform, creating non-pornographic content, bringing lots of money into the website, not from the porn. And then the banks have an excuse, right? They have wiggle room then to be like, okay, this thing's making money on its own without this sort of thing. We can pull the rug out from this other aspect of the website.
Exactly. So yeah. So now you're right. Like Bella Thorne and a ton of other, celebrities are coming on there, and they're charging $30 for basically what you can get on Instagram.
Right.
Like they're not even most of the time. You can't even talk to those people. Like if you subscribe to Bella Thorne, she's not going to respond to you.
Right.
She's going to ask you to just purchase a $50 video, or whatever. And it's of her cooking food or something, whatever bullshit that people want to do. And I don't understand why. So what is going to end up happening? I'm canceling my account October 1st in solidarity to a lot of the people there. I think if more people actually did, and a lot of people are going to, I think this is going to be a big hit for OnlyFans. I think there's other platforms now. There's Pocket Star. There's another one that's something fans. So it's
loyal fans.
Yeah, which is a new one that popped up because OnlyFans is fucking up. I mean,
which of course, like, of course that's gonna happen. Like, I don't think anybody. Like, I feel like everybody was like, for a moment, they're like, "Oh my god, this thing's going away." It's not going away.
Well, there's still
Patreon.
It's
shifting.
There's still Patreon, and Patreon also you can do, I think, pornography on Patreon. I think
you can. I don't know. We have a Patreon for our podcast, but we do not do pornography yet.
I mean, we have one on ours, and I don't think we're gonna do pornography because nobody wants to see me and Paul do pornography.
I just don't think people come to my show to see us nude, considering we're an audio-based podcast. But what do I know?
Mean, whatever. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there that might. I don't know.
Right. But either way, I just want, I don't know. I love things like Patreon and OnlyFans that put control into the hands of the creators. Like it's really freeing, and it's given a lot of people a chance to, like, you don't have to be a celebrity to make a full-time living off of creating popular media anymore. YouTubers are doing it. Patreon is giving people more freedom to do it. OnlyFans is giving more freedom for people to do it. And it just sucks to see that stuff taken away too,
No, I 100% agree. So it sucks, but in the same sense, that's sort of business, and
it's business, but it's also like social stigmas, like I said before, sex work is work, but like it's not exactly socially perceived that way acceptably yet, right? And there's still like a gray area where banks don't want to be seen as some sort of pimp, right? But they also don't really have the perspective of like what these people who are making an income, like these banks are affecting people's income who are making far less than them, but they're making it through OnlyFans. So it's nice that they can make this perspective from up there in their ivory tower, but it's affecting the income of people making far less than they are.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. I mean, this was awesome to chat with you about this, and yeah,
man, thanks for having me on. It's great. We got to shift from Bigfoot to pornography. It's great.
I mean, fantastic. Right? Well, there was no nudity in this film, and that did not make me mad or anything. I actually it's always refreshing to me to not see nudity in horror films or whatever of this kind of magnitude. But
I was kind of hoping the Bigfoot would hang dong at least for a moment, but you get what you get.
I mean, there was no dong on that costume apparently. Yeah, they would have had to pay extra.
Budgetary.
I know. If they can't even let him cross water, he's not gonna have a dog.
You're not gonna show his dong. Yeah, no, no way.
But yeah, but there was that scene with the girl, with him like telling her to take off her shirt, and I was like, okay. Yeah. And then she was wearing another big ass shirt under there. And I'm just like,
again, it's this movie setting up things where there's no payoff. The the woman's like, all right, let me take off the shirt. She takes it off, and somehow there's like a jacket underneath. And you're like, how is that even possible?
Like, wasn't it? I mean, is it cold? Like that cold back, there? Maybe.
You have a thicker shirt underneath the thin shirt. How's that even? I don't even know how it works.
I don't know.
Either
But
way,
they did.
Australians.
Damn it. It was very disappointing. And it didn't even have like cleavage or nothing. Like, it was just like, this is like, I mean, maybe she had something in her contract where,
it's like, I don't even care about the nudity. I'm just like, I need this film to fulfill a promise to me.
Yeah.
I need to see a Bigfoot or see a something. Like, I just need to fulfill any promises that you make to me as a viewer.
Nope. It was just like, fuck you as the viewer. You're not.
It's like, listen, we don't have the money to fulfill any promises.
We can't even give her the I don't even know what it is in Australia, what the currency is in Australia. It's not dollars.
No, it's not. I don't know what that is either. And I feel bad now.
I
no one
do.
from Australia's listening.
I know everybody in Australia that's checking this out because they're like, oh my God, somebody reviewed Throwback.
Someone's finally talking about Throwback.
And then they're like, these fucking assholes.
They don't even know that we use doubloons. I have no idea.
I don't think it was.
It's not doubloons.
That's what they would use in
that's the Goonies.
Yeah, the Goonies. Or Indiana Jones. Or
yeah,
whatever,
exactly. So I guess it's on brand then, because that's kind of what this movie is, right?
Yeah. Well, there you go. They're probably like stupid Americans. They don't know shit. They don't know about Yowie.
To us. We're dumb. We're funny.
I hope they think we're funny. I hope they don't think we're assholes. I don't know. Maybe they do. Well, thank you so much, Jordan.
Hey, thanks, man.
Stick around. I'll chat with you after. But everybody else, thank you guys so much for checking this out. Join us tomorrow for another episode of 31 Days of Indie Horror. Have a good one, guys. Bye.